Good evening. Welcome to Talk Time with Sharmin, and I'm your host, Sharmin Prince. Thank you for joining. Here we are another Sunday to inspire, empower, inform, and even transform lives today. If you're celebrating your birthday, happy birthday to you. If you are celebrating another milestone, an anniversary, happy anniversary. If you lost a loved one, our condolences go out to you. And I'd like to take this time to wish my friend Carlotta a happy belated birthday. Remember to like and share. Today we have a great show for you. Um, I know that you will be inspired. I know that you will be empowered. And I know that you will be encouraged from Dr. Carolin, Hauser, Carson. So thank you for joining. We're a little early, but thank you. Dr. Carson, I hope that I pronounced your name correctly. Did I? Okay. Thank you. Just hold a minute. Let me stop the music. Good. Let me take you out. Hello, Samantha. Good evening. Welcome, Dr. Carson. Thank you for joining us on Talk Time with Sharmin. Dr. Carolin Hauser Carson is a German-trained neuropathic doctor, humanistic psychotherapist, and family constellations facilitator. And she's also the author of the book, Blossom, 7 Steps to Sexual Healing. And she also have an upcoming book, The Pleasure IQ. She is internationally recognized as a speaker and teacher on the subjects of spirituality, healing, and women's empowerment for almost 2 decades. Carolin combines her knowledge to help women and brave men to have love-filled lives that flow with a sense of ease and amazing results. Her work is based on the intersection of where the human body and experience meets past and even ancestral trauma, and shows how each individual's authentic and true self is the source of one's own good, a place of unlimited abundance, creativity, courage, and joyful existence. Carolin currently lives with her divine partner and soulmate, Paul, and her 2 beautiful children in sunny Santa Barbara, California, from where she teaches, speaks, travels to host healing retreats all over the world. Carolin, welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome. What an introduction.
Thanks.
So you're the author of the book. What inspired you to write the book?
It's a really good question. So when I took my training in my early 20s, I'm 39 now. And by the time I was 30, I had a practice. I was helping entrepreneurs create breakthrough results. And I was really thinking, I had worked through all my stuff. You know, when you train to become a psychotherapist, you have to work on all your, it's a requirement that you work on all your stuff. So I had worked through everything. I thought I was really, I was set and I knew everything. And when you train to become a psychotherapist, you have Can you hear me? I hear an echo. Department that you work on all your stuff. So I had worked through everything. I thought I was really, I was set and I knew everything. And to all my, when you train to become a psychotherapist, you have Can you hear me? I hear an echo. Department that you work on all your stuff. So.
Are you still hearing the echo?
Only when I talk.
Oh.
I think it's gone.
Okay.
So in my early 30s, when my daughter turned 3, with her turning 3, my early sexual abuse memories got triggered, and it really threw me for a hoop because, like I said, I thought I had worked through everything and I knew everything. I knew how to heal people. I knew how to heal myself. And then that happened. And with that happening, I also knew that it must have happened for a reason. It must have happened for a reason that I already went through all my training. It must have happened for a reason that I had learned about healing, and it must have happened for a reason that I only discovered my memories after I had done all of that. And so that's when, and I had already known that I wanted to write a book. I just didn't know what it was about. And so then when it happened, it was really clear that the book needed to be about healing and my own healing. And while I was taking myself through the healing journey, I took a whole bunch of people with me, created an online course, and then took everything, all the results, and put it into the book. That's how the book was born.
And you said in the beginning, you thought that you had dealt with all of your stuff. Can you expound on that a little?
Yeah, so consciously I knew, my parents got divorced when I was 11. And shortly before that time, I started to be anorexic and bulimic, and struggled with that for 10 or 11 years. And so from 10 to 21, I went to therapy, and my parents tried all kinds of stuff for me. And then I ended up going through, or my mom invited me to go to a family constellations workshop. And I had one session it was a weekend workshop. I had one session, and within that weekend, basically in that one session, my whole life got transformed, because in the 6 months after that weekend, the disease or the addiction went away completely. And I don't know if you know, but generally when you've had an eating disorder for over 10 years, your prediction or your chances of healing are at 5%. So I had already kind of given up and thought, for me, my life, either I'm not going to live till 30, or if I do, it would be very restricted and not normal, right? It was hard for me even to have normal relationships or anything, because with bulimia, there's so much hiding and like a double life going on. It's really hard to have regular relationships. And so that happened. And at that time, I was waiting table and not knowing what really to do with my life. And I was waiting tables at night, and a friend of a friend came and kept me company one night at work. And I told him the story. I told him that, I had struggled with eating disorders for so long and had just gone to this weekend workshop, and I was feeling better. And he said, "Oh my God, if you've been able to do this, you have to make this your life's mission." And so right after that, I started to study naturopathic medicine and humanistic psychotherapy, and really immersed myself. All I did in my 20s, other people go to work, they know what they want to do. All I did was work on myself in my 20s. I traveled to different retreat centers and spiritual teachers, and followed people that did that kind of work all over the world, and just really immersed myself. And that also then led me to the United States. And so in my late 20s, I came here and met my ex-husband that I have 2 beautiful children with. And I still didn't quite know, what to do, but I had all this training. And then when my daughter was born, I realized I wanted to be an entrepreneur, and started helping people online from home. And then, like I said, when my daughter was 3, so a few years after she was born, it was really like a big setback, because, like I said, I thought I had worked through everything. And then finding out those early memories, though, was good, because it started making sense why I started having the eating disorders even before my parents got divorced. It never made sense to me, because they divorced when I was 11 or 12, and I started struggling with food around 10. So it was always something a little off,
Are you a survivor of sexual trauma?
Yes. Mm-hmm. I was sexually abused by my grandfather from 3 to 7. And then also for my mom's boyfriend, after my parents got divorced from, around 13, 14. Yes.
Okay. And because our show, and that's why that was one of the reasons I agree, because we talk a lot about sexual abuse and overcoming sexual trauma.
That's great.
And in our culture, that's still a taboo.
It's everywhere. It's a taboo. I published my book 6 years ago, and now finally I'm invited to come on shows and talk about it. And 6 years ago, I would go to bookstores and do readings, and I would have people show up, but mostly men, and they all would be like, "Oh my God, this is so great that you're doing this. We need it. We need it." I got a lot of support from the men that were with girlfriends that had problems, or their sisters or their mothers, but not a lot of women showed up. So that's changing, which is great.
Women did not show up at your book signings.
Not as much,
Okay.
Yeah.
So why do you think that the Me Too movement is just beginning?
It's a great first step for people to have the courage to either admit to themselves or say it out loud, because what goes with sexual abuse, because of the shame and the guilt, is like all the secrecy and feeling like, you're not, feeling like you're damaged and you're not worth anything, right? And so Me Too is a great first step because it breaks that. It breaks the pattern of feeling like you're alone and you have to hide it. But it doesn't really bring true healing. That's why it's a great first step, but now we need to learn how to heal ourselves second. In my opinion.
Thank you. And let's say there are some victims. They're victims on watching us right now, and they would like to hear one word of encouragement from you. What would that be?
It's really that you're not damaged. I know it might feel like that. It might feel like because this happened, your life is ruined, but that is not so. Because we're a composite out of spirit, soul, and body. And I think we think that our spirit and our soul gets damaged by sexual abuse, but it's not. What it's actually more impacted is our nervous system, which belongs to our physical body. And so when we can learn when we know that, then we can make the distinction between like myself and my soul and my spirit, and my body. And then you can start using tools to actually help your body heal and release the negative emotions, the negative energy. And you're going to start feeling better. You're going to feel able to reconnect to your soul and your spirit. And you will notice that, or you will realize that you're still whole. You're not broken.
How important is that reconnection for a survivor of child sexual abuse?
It's very important, because unless you do it, you'll always feel just like a shell, or you'll feel empty, or you'll feel depressed, and you'll have no energy to really enjoy your life, or life will seem more like a struggle, because really only half of you is here and the other half is still disconnected from being here on the earth.
There are some women, Carolin, that believe that once they repress or push away the memories of being sexually abused, it's fine. They don't have to make the extra effort and start the journey of healing.
Yeah, that's a fallacy, because we are all vibrational beings, and the universe is and everything in the universe is energy. And there's different energetic or vibrational energies. There's lower vibrational energies and there's higher vibrational energies. And the higher vibrational energies are connected to flow and ease and love and abundance. And the lower vibrational frequencies are connected to struggle and frustration and depression, apathy, shame and guilt, and so forth. And so we can suppress negative emotions out of our consciousness, but our consciousness is just 5% of our complete makeup. So the 95% is very powerful, our subconscious. And we are, as a whole, a vibrational being, right? So even if we're consciously 5% vibrating at a really positive state, there's still 95% possibly, right, if we don't deal with it, that vibrates at a more lower and more negative state. And most of us have heard of the law of attraction, which say it's like attracts like. So just imagine 95% of your 95% of your makeup is suppressed negative energy, right? So you have a 95% magnet towards negativity and a 5% magnet towards positivity. So that's why it's important to deal with the negative suppressed emotions, so that you as a whole become high vibrational, because when you do that, then life becomes good and feels good, and you are who you came to be, and you feel free and you have energy again, and you feel inspired to do the things you want to do. So that's why it's important. It might be good at first because it feels like it's a survival strategy, but then in my own experience, life always only gives us as much as we can handle, right? That's why it took me till I was 30 probably before I remembered, because that's when I was in a space where I could really deal with it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. What is your take on cathartic healing?
I think it's really not helpful, and part of this is with what we see with Me Too is really finally allowed to speak up, finally allowed to be angry. And it can seem like it's really good and it can seem like it's really freeing, but again, it doesn't heal your nervous system, because you're not really working on transforming the 95% negative emotional imprint that's in your subconsciousness, right? It helps you in the moment to feel strong and feel good, but long term, it doesn't help you and your nervous system heal.
Okay. And what specifics, or one specific thing that we can do as survivors to help heal our nervous system?
That's a really good question. My intention, actually, why I'm doing these interviews, is because I want to teach this to people, because it's really, really simple and it's not scary. And sometimes because it's so simple, people have a hard time hearing it. So I'm just saying that for everybody listening, it sounds really simple and it might seem too simple, but I'm telling you, if you use what I'm going to share with you regularly, day in and day out, you will see tremendous shift in your life. To just give you an example, my life has transformed in the last 4 years from being bankrupt, having chronic fatigue, adrenal burnout, stage 4, having going through a divorce and struggling with relationships, to having served over 5,000 people, being with my soulmate, having bought a house in the Caribbean on the beach, and a lot more. My health has transformed. I'm just saying this to you right now because it's all because I'm using what I'm going to share with you, this tool. And I call it and my clients have similar results also. I just want to give you my results. And it's, I call it vibrational integration tool. And it's a free gift that the listeners can actually grab from my website later also. And it really is about learning to use your physical body as a sensing organ. So anytime you feel less than balanced or less than good, which, for most of us, we have a little bit of stress all the time, right? That we only have moments where we feel really, really good. So anytime you feel a little bit less than perfect, you scan your body, right? And obviously you can't do this all day, every day, but when you have a moment, when you're waiting for the bus, or when you're driving somewhere, or when you're at work and you have a moment, you just scan your body and you see if there's sensations that feel, less than perfect. So it could be a lump in your throat, or it could be a knot in your stomach, or it could be a tight shoulders. You could be feeling really angry or really stressed out, right? But instead of going with trying to explain the feeling, find the physical sensation. And then allow yourself to stay with your attention on the physical sensation. And in the beginning, this might be hard because as abuse survivors, also other kinds of abuses, it was safer for us to not be in our body, right? To leave. So in the beginning, you might notice when you want to do this that you have a lot of thoughts and that it's really hard for you to stay focused on just feeling in your body. And that's okay. Just bit by bit, start learning to be in your body and just feel every sensation. And especially with the stronger emotions. So let's say you're really upset or angry about something, or you're sad or you're scared. Use this tool, and it usually only takes a few minutes of really allowing yourself to completely just feel it and be with it, for it to transform and transmute. And it's literally like you're you're using your body to transform and transmute the negative energy that got stored during the trauma, and then later on, through the hardships in your life, and you're transforming it into something more high vibrational.
Is it easy for a survivor to do that?
No, not in the beginning. And not actually for almost nobody, because most people, because of all the stress and because of the way we live, we're not living in a connected way, right? Most of us are really disconnected from our bodies. And so things that you can do to help yourself to be able to do this is, learning to breathe, feeling. I remember when I first started it, I would help myself to be in my body by feeling the water when I did the dishes, for example, by feeling the sand when I would go for a beach walk. Anything that you can do that includes you using your senses and feeling. Right now, if you're sitting on a table, you could put your hands, the palm of your hands on the table and really feel what that feels like the coldness or the smoothness. Anything that you use your body for in terms of sensing will help you really strengthen. It's a muscle. It's like going to the muscle booth. If you've never done it, you just have to find opportunities where you can strengthen that muscle.
Okay. Carolin, how can survivors stop feeling damaged or broken by the abuse?
When you realize, what we just talked about, that you're really not broken. What happens especially when sexual trauma happens, especially if you were younger, is that too much energy was put towards you. I always tell people to imagine that the body is like a house, and it's wired for a certain amount of electricity, right? And when the right amount of electricity comes into the house, everything in the house works the way it should. But when there's a lightning or something, too much electricity comes into the house, whole circuits and everything fry. And it's the same with your body. When trauma happens, because of the fear and the shock and the overwhelm, and because in our culture we haven't learned to deal with that amount of energy and how to release it, your wiring in your body got fried. So it's not you, it's not your psyche, it's not your soul, it's not your spirit, it's literally your nervous system. And so when you know that, then you can take your power back, because you are the owner of your nervous system, right? You inhabit your body. Nobody else can heal that. And we don't have power over other people. We don't have power over circumstances. We don't have power over what happened to us. But we do have power over the body and how we treat ourselves and our energy. So that's what I want to say.
Okay. What is one of the main blocks of healing from sexual abuse or traumatic experiences?
One of the main blocks is really staying in a low vibrational frequency and staying in shame and guilt about it. Because what it does is, when we stay in shame and guilt, we always have to, and this is just, I don't know why that is, but as long as we're in shame and guilt, we have to defend or blame or find fault with others or ourselves. We're not free. And so it's really important to help ourselves to get out of that state, because we're not free unless we can elevate ourselves. And it's hard because it seems like, well, but this person did this thing to me and they should be punished for it, or they ruined my life. But that kind of thinking is not helping us to get free, right? And as soon as we can come into wholeness with ourselves, where we don't feel the shame and the guilt, then we don't need to do that anymore. We don't need to blame the other person, right? I want to make it really clear it's wrong what people do. And at the same time, we don't set ourselves free as long as we're staying kind of like a victim perpetrator relationship.
How can you encourage the person who is listening to you right now, who finds it hard to let go, to even forgive? Because I find myself in problem when I said we have to forgive our perpetrators.
You don't actually have to.
Okay, so help us understand that.
Because forgiveness again is a psychological concept, right? Like forgiving, it has nothing to do with healing your nervous system. So my way and the way I teach it and I encourage people is really, if you just really focus on helping you and your energy, right? It's not about who did what and all of that. It's about how do you feel in your body and what would make you feel a little better in any given time. And so the letting go comes actually from the process that I described by, so let's say you're really angry and you're having a really hard time forgiving and all you want to do is basically cut somebody's balls off or something, right? If you're in that state, it's okay. But rather than doing it, actually, go to how that feels in your body. Go to that sensation and learn to transmute the energy behind it. That's all you have to do with all of these things. With all the big emotions, just use them as your fuel for your transformation, your own vibrational transformation.
Okay. And we can learn this from your website or from you.
Yeah.
Okay.
On my website, the free gift will take, it's a little, I did a little bit of a demonstration today, but since we have limited amount of time, when you download the free gift on my website, you will be given that tool and you have it and you can just listen to it when you need guidance, when, to go to your muscle booth and start training.
Can you tell the listeners your website?
Mm-hmm. It's www.womenintheflow.com. So it's www.womenintheflow.com. And if any guys are listening, of course, you're welcome too. Like I said, I have majority is women, but here and there's some men, and they benefit from what I'm teaching as well. It's not gender specific.
We have a question from Tracy Carter.
Mm-hmm.
She said, do you think that all low vibration frequencies are linked to trauma?
So low vibrational frequencies are just low vibrational frequencies, and we become low vibrational through negativity, either because of a traumatic impact or ongoing negativity, right? It could be that you're just surrounded by people that are a little negative, and anything that's a little negative over time will, if you're not strong enough and if you don't have a way of elevating yourself, will pull you down eventually. There's other things. There's chemicals, there's neon light, there's medication, there's all kinds of things that will, the food that you eat, all kinds of things that impact your vibrational frequency. But suppressed emotions and repressed emotions are really the biggest part. And when trauma happens, a big chunk of negativity usually has to be suppressed just for us to feel like we can survive and function.
Wow. Earlier you said that sexual abuse is not just a psychological problem. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, and we've been talking about this a little bit. So it's literally an energetic impact on the nervous system, and part of the reason why it seems like you go to therapy and you work on yourself and nothing is changing is because that is not working with healing your energetic system. It's helping you understand. It's helping you maybe come to terms. It's helping you mentally make sense of things, but it is not really helping you in terms of transforming your vibrational state.
So, is it safe to say or to assume that maybe therapy, traditional psychotherapy, needs to be added with something else to address the nervous system?
Yeah. So I think, therapy is great because you have somebody that you can talk to. And that's really important because we all know that when you're lonely, it's even harder, right? When you're just alone with something. So I think, and obviously there's therapists who are very skilled and know what they're doing. But I think general talk therapy, I don't want to talk for every therapist, but in my opinion, really the work with in my experience, the work with the nervous system has been the thing that's helped me, really become free and feel I'm not afraid of men anymore. I married a great guy. I have no issues anymore. I feel really free and liberated, and my clients do too, right? So it's not a compensation or a behavioral kind of change. It's literally you become the person that we always think, oh, I wish I could go back, or when you have a sense of how you were whole when you were born, kind of. And so I totally feel like I'm myself. I don't feel there's anything wrong anymore, right? And I didn't feel like that for a long time.
That's wonderful. I'm sure that many of us would like to feel like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. What role does personal responsibility play when it comes to healing from sexual abuse and trauma associated with it?
It plays a big role, and a lot of people, I think that it means that taking responsibility means that it's your fault, but that doesn't mean, taking responsibility does not mean that you did something wrong or it's your fault. It just means that, okay, so I'm just giving you an example. In my life, taking responsibility meant to remember, and I know for some people this what I'm going to be saying, it can be challenging and sounds maybe way out there, but I'm just saying this is how it was for me. So for me, taking personal responsibility meant to remember that I actually came to this planet with a plan, that I wanted to grow, that I wanted to learn about my own power, that I wanted to have experiences that would help me to lose my power, so that I could learn how to reclaim it, and then I could help others to do the same. In my case, it meant remembering, right? Oh, okay, I had a plan and I had to go through these things so that I could do the work that I was meant to do, and so that I could be the person I wanted to be. Right? So for you, for somebody else, it might mean just to take responsibility now means, okay, this happened. Who am I today? Can I be grateful for the person that I am today? And which hopefully you can, because all of us were amazing people. We all have gifts to share. And, we're all, I think it's a privilege to be living on the earth. And I don't think everybody gets to, or I don't know, but that's just my philosophy. And you're needed and you're wanted and you're loved, right? And so taking responsibility then means to say, okay, I still have many years left. Let me make something of it, right? Instead of feeling like you've been damaged and it's all over and you can't do anything, and it's just about like struggling through and until you die. It's like, no, I refuse to just, survive. I want a better life for myself. I want to remember who I really was, and I want to be the person that I came here to be.
But despite I want to be the person that I came here to be, um, why are sexual abuse survivors at a disadvantage in life?
It is because of the lower vibrational frequency, right? Because of the abuse, and especially if you, for most of us, when the abuse happens, it sets us up for low self-esteem and all kinds of patterns, giving away our power, sacrificing ourselves, not feeling safe, and our brain gets rewired differently. So in neuroscience, I'm trying to keep this simple. Our brain has 3 different layers. There's the top layer, which is our prefrontal cortex, where this is where our creativity lives. This is where our brilliance lives. This is where we make empowered decisions from. And then there's the midbrain, and then right here in the back is the reptilian brain, which is fight or flight. And so when trauma happens, our reptilian brain gets put into high alert. So from the moment forward, the reptilian brain is where all the information, all the sensory input comes in first. So all the sensory input comes in here, and then if you've had trauma, doesn't matter how severe, automatically this part of the brain is always in higher alert than with a normal person. And so because of that, you're more reactive, you're prone to not see opportunity, you're prone to be more scared when something could be really a good choice for you. You might not see it because you're too scared, right? So basically, you're forced to live more in an instinctual, survival-based kind of environment or way of living because your brain chemistry has been changed through the traumatic impact. And so the technique that I was sharing with you is the reason why it's so powerful is because it helps the brainstem, the reptilian brain to relax and calm down, so that then you can actually have access to your higher faculties and make better decisions for yourself. So when trauma, the reason why trauma survivors are at a disadvantage is because your brain literally is different than somebody who has not gone through trauma.
Carolin, how did you learn about trauma healing?
I learned about it through the family constellation that my mom took me through, and I had no idea. I really had no idea why I was having the eating disorders, and it just felt like, I don't know if any of you listening have dealt with addictions, but it felt just like this thing that I just couldn't shake. And I had no idea that there's trauma, ancestral trauma, and through the constellation work, the constellation work works with your entire system, your family, your soul, everything that you're connected to. And it was fascinating to start learning how, we think we're just this independent person that walks on the earth, but in the reality, we're connected to so much more, and we inherit trauma, and the way our nervous system is wired actually 7 generations back. So I started learning all of that from the family constellation work and that world.
What is the family constellation work or world?
Family constellations was discovered by a man named Bert Hellinger, and he was Austrian. And I think in the 80s, he was a minister, and he was also a psychotherapist. And the story goes that he was actually in Africa. He was working with the Zulu tribe and was observing that when somebody was sick, or when somebody had done something, right, something criminal, for example, that they wouldn't work with the person. When in our culture, when somebody gets sick, we treat the person, right? Or when somebody does something wrong, the person gets put in prison. And so the Zulus, they came together as a tribe and did tribal ritual work to heal the person or help the person that has gotten off track. And what he learned through that was that we all belong to, it's almost like a mobile, do you know what a mobile is? Where different pieces, like you put it over a baby's bed, different pieces hang in a kind of pattern. So we're all part of a mobile, and the mobile is our family. And when people get excluded or bad things happen, oftentimes we exclude family members or forget about them. And then younger souls come and take that space over or take on pain, if you will, from the generations before in an attempt to make it better for the people that we love. And so in family constellations, we basically make the mobile visible and disentangle the people so that everybody can be in the right place and the whole system can be in order. And when you do that, harmony is restored within yourself and in your entire family and extended family also. So it's very powerful.
Is that where ancestral trauma came from?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So younger souls, somehow the younger souls that are born know exactly, even though it's never spoken about, people know, if you had, like, let's say your mother lost a brother and it was never talked about, and then your son develops some kind of a depression at the exact same age that your mom's brother died, for example, right? So in constellation, as a facilitator, we know to look for those things, but we see it all the time where somebody gets sick or ill or develops something and it makes no sense why. And then you find out, well, there was a brother or a sibling or somebody in the family who had the exact same thing at the exact same age, and it was never talked about, and that person was forgotten. And the moment that person gets remembered, and it doesn't even have to be by everybody, just by one person, the energy flows again in the system and you become free to be yourself. If you're the person carrying something for somebody else, you become the person to be free.
Carolin, tell us the 7 steps of the Blossom Journey.
The first step is really bringing your mind on board, because for most abuse survivors, like I said, our brain has gotten so used to being in fight or flight that even trying to do something emotional is too scary. And so it's really important that the mind understands about the nervous system and the value of working with the emotions, and that it's not scary, that it doesn't have to, relive the trauma, all those things. So the first step is learning all about what you're gonna experience so that your mind can relax and allow you to go on the journey, because the subconscious, the fight or flight, is super powerful. And when it's engaged, you can't when your fight or flight is engaged, you cannot distinguish whether you're making the right decision or not, because you think what you're thinking is correct, and your perception is completely skewed by you're not safe, right? So it could be something really minuscule and still you feel like you're not safe. So, me suggesting to do emotional work could be like your brain saying, no, this is not safe, this is totally stupid, don't do it. So the first step is really helping your mind understand it so that you don't have resistance, because the resistance, or lesser resistance, because the reason why most of us don't change is because the resistance is too big to changing. So the first step is really overcoming the resistance, or knowing that the resistance will come and knowing what to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second step is learning about your emotions and having different tools to learn ways to feel your emotions. So the book is actually structured in 7 weeks, and every week is dedicated to one theme. So 1 week on bringing your mind on board, a second week on helping yourself to explore your emotions, learning about emotions, learning what they feel like, having safe small steps that you can explore to start feeling your emotions. And then the third step is to own your intuition. Because the voice of your intuition is the voice that can keep you safe, and it's the voice that's in your body, and it's a very small and silent voice, but it's the voice that will eventually lead you toward the fulfillment of who you truly want to be. Because everything that you want in your dream, your dream life, it sounds corny, but your dream life is already here for you. The reason why you're not living in it is because you currently are keeping yourself from living in it. But your intuition is the voice that can lead you there, right? And so it's, for a lot of people, it's really hard to distinguish. So what's my heart? What's my intuition? And because the anxiety in the mind can be so loud, right? So the third step is really dedicated to helping you decipher and trust your own inner guidance. And then the fourth step is about seeing with your eyes of truth. It's a lot about really seeing pain in a different light, seeing your own connections, seeing where you are carrying stuff for your ancestors, seeing with the eyes of truth, really seeing, maybe for you it means seeing that somewhere you chose this, and seeing what's true for you. I'm not saying that, what I share with you, that's your reality, but seeing things for what they really are and how you maybe have benefited from what you went through. I know that's a stretch, but like most of us, have become pretty amazing, empathic and psychic people, even because of what happened, right? We've developed maybe amazing talents and gifts because of what happened. We've become special people maybe because of what happened. We're especially resilient, and maybe because of what happened, we feel like we can do anything now, so there's gifts in it. So the fourth step really helps you find what that's for you. And then the fifth step is called Stretch Beyond Your Limits, and that whole week is really dedicated into teaching you how to transmute and transform the negative emotions and making that a habit, and getting back into your own power with that. And then the sixth step is called Own All of Who You Are. In the constellation world, I have learned from the constellation work that we come from two streams. We come from the masculine to our father, and we come from our mother through the feminine stream. Mm-hmm. And so we have these different parts of ourselves, and within that we have the little girl, we have the slave driver, so we have different parts within the masculine and the feminine energy. And so the sixth step is about learning all of these different ones, and really learning how we can strengthening the healthy, strong ones, like the wise woman or the protector. There's archetypes that we all have, and that we can align with and strengthen in ourselves. And then the seventh step is called Meet Your Beloved in the World in Wholeness. That's all about how to now take this forward into your life and into your relationship, so that you can really be an empowered person and create the life and the relationships of your dreams.
Okay. Wow. Carolin, what is pleasure intelligence?
Pleasure intelligence is a new intelligence, and I didn't realize that we needed it until 5 years ago. I was sharing a little bit before. I was at a point in my life where everything was in a state of lack, including my health. And I had two small kids at the time, and my ex-husband was working full time, and he came home one night, and I said to him, "Hey, I can't do this anymore." I was literally on the couch all day, not being able to get up because my body was so sick. And he didn't mean anything negative. He just said, "Well, you wanted to be a mother." And when he said that, something in me snapped, and I heard it as he was saying, "Well, you chose to be a mother, so sacrifice yourself," or something like that, right? And so I literally collapsed and left my body. My kids were on top of me, sobbing because they didn't know what was going on, and I was literally hovering under the ceiling, looking back down on myself, and I was done. I was like, no, this is too hard. I'm not going to stay. And then something else happened. The voice said, Carolin, your work isn't done. And I was sent back into my body. And for 5 days, I was suspended in a state of complete harmony where everything was perfect, where everything flowed and everything I was provided for. I thought of something, and the thing magically, I thought of a lemon, and I was walking on the street and a lemon fell from the tree, or, experiences like that for a whole week. Everything that I thought of was provided for immediately. And then the state ended after 5 days. And it was hard. But I've made it my journey, or my task to figure out how we can get ourselves into this space. And I've realized that we really need to develop a new kind of intelligence that has to do with us allowing ourselves to have pleasure in all areas of our lives. So not just sexual, but we do experience life through our body, right? Without a body, we would not be on this earth and wouldn't experience life. So it has to do a lot with being in your body and really experience your life through your senses. But allowing yourself to have pleasure in all areas of your life is a skill, because so often we just think we can do something. We limit ourselves before we can even get started. And so learning to make decisions based on what's right for you will help you to develop pleasure intelligence, or follow the pleasure intelligence. Your intuition, your small little voice that knows what's best for you, is very much connected to you allowing yourself to have pleasure in your life. Because your intuition and God, this is what I believe, God doesn't want us to struggle. He wants us to have the most fulfilling life experience that we could have, right? And so that's why it's important to start talking about this new intelligence, because we know about regular IQ and we know about emotional IQ, but we actually don't know that it would be helpful to us to learn to allow ourselves to have things that we want.
Is it hard for us to develop that pleasure IQ? And if you were asked to give us one way that we can begin that journey, what would that be?
The fastest way to learn, part of it is helping yourself to feel better all the time, and using the tool that I already shared, because that will help you feel better. And then another really important tool is to learn what your true yes and your true no feels like, because we navigate ourselves toward having everything by making decisions, either yes, I want this, or no, I want this, on my website, the second gift that you're getting is a tool where I'm teaching you how to figure out what your true yes and your true no is. And the fastest way to increase your pleasure IQ is literally to help yourself to feel good as you can by using the emotional integration tool, and then learning to make decisions based on what feels right and good to you. And you could do that starting with breakfast, or starting with, what do I want to wear today? Again, it's a muscle, right? And so the more you practice, the faster you'll get it, and the faster you'll really make the decisions that ultimately will lead you to having everything that you want. And sometimes you have to make decisions that are scary, right? We have to say no to things. I had to leave several relationships that were pretty good on paper to finally have the relationship that I've always dreamt of. It took me 20 years and 26 different many shorter and then several longer relationships to now have the relationship that I always thought, that I was always looking for. I was always looking for the one, and everybody was like, "Oh, you're crazy. You're just, you have to work on yourself more, and you're just not happy with yourself. That's why you're looking for the one." And no, he was really out there. But it took me 20 years to admit it to myself and allow it.
Before you go, tell us how you met your soulmate.
So as I said, I had gone through several relationships, and I had actually been married to the dad of my kids for 8 years, and then I had a couple shorter relationships, and the last one before I met Paul was a pretty good relationship, but he didn't like children, and to me that should have been a red flag, right? Because I have children and I'm very family oriented, and it took me 2 years to realize, hello, like, why am I still limiting myself? How can I think that this really could be my dream relationship or turn into my dream relationship if he doesn't like children? And so it had to, the first step for us meeting was me realizing, wow, I'm still completely settling, and then making a decision. So it was actually at the end of 2015. So I decided that for 2016, I was going to allow myself to find my soulmate, start dancing, and be on national TV, because those were my 3 big dreams that I've always said, oh, I want to be a dancer, and I want to be on national TV, and I want to be with my soulmate. And so the decision, that was the first step. And then I was traveling and working a lot, and really didn't have a lot of time to date. So all I had energy for was to take a nice photo and put it up on Match.com. And I was really clear that I wanted to find my divine partner. So even though, the louder voice in my head said, are you crazy to put that on Match.com? I did it. I put, looking for my divine partner. And I was feeling, a little bit ashamed and embarrassed. And then I just left it. And I was traveling actually to see my mentor. And my mentor took me through a very interesting exercise. He asked me, so Carolin, if you never had this relationship, let's say today is the last day of your life and you never have this relationship, how would that be? And the first thing that came out of my mouth was, oh, that would be okay, because I would have had my children and I would have had a lot of love. And the moment that came out of my mouth, I saw how I was still telling the universe, oh, it's okay, it's okay if it doesn't happen, because I have amazing children, I have so much love in my life. And so then I cried for an entire day, because I realized how I was still not allowing myself by telling the universe, it's okay. And then that evening, Paul had sent me a message on Match.com. He was the only one after a month of having my profile up. And then I was still on the East Coast for 3 more days visiting with my mentor. And then when I came back a day later, we had our first date, and we've been together ever since.
Congratulations.
Yeah. So if you're looking for a relationship and you haven't found it yet, don't give up. It's there for you.
What are some of the resources that you have, and where can we find them?
You can find them on my website, www.womenintheflow.com. No, you need to let me do this right now. Sorry about that. That's my little one. And you can get the integration tool and the yes and no exercise. And then on my website, I have tons of different resources that it can find in videos and blog posts and lots of goodies. And then in my newsletter, I send helpful articles every week and videos. I do a lot of videos, actually. And I have a free Facebook group that you will be invited to as well when you subscribe for the gift. And in that group, I do daily meditations, and you can ask questions and all kinds of things.
Okay. And one would have to sign up on the website before the Facebook group. They can become a part of the Facebook group.
Mm-hmm. Well, they can either sign up for the free gift and they will get an email with an invitation for the Facebook group, or on my website, there is also a link to just join the free Facebook group. So you can do both.
Okay. And what is the most important thing you want to leave with us?
The most important thing is to know, you have to let me do this right now. I will be done in 5 minutes. The most important thing is that to remember that you're not powerless. Then the thing that you have power, or the thing that you have power over, is yourself and your energy management. And so the more you find ways to help yourself feel good, even if it's, instead of sitting inside during your lunch break, you go outside to take a walk. It could be something as simple. Start finding ways to help yourself to feel better, because when you do that, you become a different vibrational person. And the moment you become a better feeling, more high vibrational person, you start attracting better things, right? It's not so much the law of attraction tells, a lot of people think that they have to do affirmations and just think positive thoughts. No, you have to become a person that feels better. You have to feel better in your body, better in your soul, better in your spirit. So make time for the things that help you do that. Like in my business, I make my self-care my top priority. I work 4 hours a day, 5 days a week. And I spend at least 2 hours or 3 hours a day on doing things just for myself so I can feel good.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
Someone asks about mindfulness. So I know that what you're saying is that for us to be present and be more mindful of ourselves.
Mm-hmm. And so I have not practiced mindfulness, so I don't know like the proper technique. But what's important is I don't know if mindfulness really works with integrating the vibrational, your emotions. Like that's probably what's different, is that in mindfulness you're just trying to be still and be present. Here you're really wanting to use your body and you want to feel everything so that you can transmute it and transform it. So it's a little different.
Okay.
I think.
Okay.
Yeah, I should ask a mindfulness expert. That's a good idea.
You should. Can you just tell us your website again and where we can contact you? And one person would like to know if you do private practice.
I do. I work in different. I work in different settings. I do retreats mostly, so I work in groups and then some smaller retreats. And some of my programs come, with one-on-one sessions. So there's all kinds of ways that I do. I do work with people, though. Yes.
Okay.
And you can see that also on my website. So it's again www.womenintheflow.com.
And that's www.womenintheflow.com. Can someone type that and put that in the comment section again? Again, it's www.women. What? Carolin, could you just repeat it?
Women in the flow. Women plural. So women in the flow.
Womenintheflow.com. Thank you so much, Carolin. And we hope to see you again on this show. And you have an open invitation.
Thanks. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me. It's my pleasure being here.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Yes, guys. Hi. We're supposed to have someone else at 7 p.m. Her name is Rustie McDonald. Hopefully, she logs on because I actually sent her link a little late, so hopefully she logs on. You're tuning to Talk Time with Sharmin, and I'm your host, Sharmin Prince. And we will take a short break, to see if Roxy is going to actually sign on. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you for your continued support. Let's take a break. Thank you, Tracy. Thank you for sharing that. I think that I personally would be contacting her. www.womenintheflow.com. Since our topic is about sexual abuse, and let me get the link for you guys. If we can afford Rustie, I'm sorry, not Rustie. If we can afford Carolin, I'll invite her to my to our retreat in July. But most people, because July is far away, we would have been able to plan it better. But most people are interested in it being in May. So I don't know if she'll be available, but I'll still reach out to her. We'll be having our women's retreat. I know last year I promised that we would do it, but I spent 7 days at Stony Point, upstate New York, and it has to be a show for you guys, for me to share with you my personal experience. I went there as the administrator for a retreat, and despite I was not present in the room with the facilitators and the participants, what I experienced just being there and having a walk on the labyrinth every day was phenomenal and transformational for me. I can't tell you guys the experience. So right away I said, I know last year I promised that we are going to have a retreat. So we'll have the retreat this year. And even if it's 5 of us, we will be going and we will have that retreat, because I want others to experience what I felt and the transformation that took place. Also, I want to congratulate the Guyana judicial system, because for the past week we've seen so many perpetrators being sentenced, in sentence, and some of them long sentences. I think I saw one was sentenced to 30 years for actually raping an 8-year-old. So we are seeing justice for those perpetrators. So I'm beginning to like the judicial system in Guyana. Also, we saw this week the arrest of Otisha. We also saw the arrest of Sir Cohen, the bishop's high school teacher. So, congratulations and good job and kudos to Guyana. Now it's how are we going to help our women and our children to heal? And also, how are we going to help perpetrators? No one addresses that. Everyone holds on to the victims. What are we going to do for victims? And we have all the programs for victims. But if we don't help perpetrators, be it sexual abuse, especially for those with domestic violence, because we're seeing more and more batterers are younger. And so I think it's important for us to teach our boys coping skills, how to accept that when a woman said, this relationship is over and I don't want you, how can they accept that? And because so many boys are being raised in single parent households, there is a deficit. So, and I think that that is something that needs to be addressed in Guyana. That's just my take. If Rustie does not join us in 5 minutes, I am sorry, but I will end the broadcast. Oh, Rustie's here. Hi, Rustie. Hi, Rustie. How are you?
Very well. How are you?
Very good. Thank you. Thank you for joining. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Now, Rustie is a multi-book author, speaker, and single mom. She lives on the west coast of Florida with her 12-year-old daughter and 2 pups. She embraced challenges that most would have never have the ability to adapt to, and still faces the reality of poverty, abuse, and all that goes with those. Rustie has lived on the streets, fought cervical cancer, celiac disease, been shot at, raped, and beaten. Her marriage was abusive, but not in what's considered traditional. And she was still abused after divorce. Rustie has been accused of a crime she had never committed and was jailed for false legal findings. Her daughter is a local artist and receives scholarships to continue to train in the art of ringling. Wow, Rustie.
Just a small life.
Just a small life. I love it. It's just small. So, Rustie, where do we start with such an amazing story?
Start at, gratitude. Find gratitude every single day and you can get through almost anything, I promise. That's where I start.
Start with gratitude. Just being grateful that you're alive.
Amen.
And everything else will follow.
The fake it till you make it works, because there are days where you're so frustrated and you're so downtrodden, and you can only cry so much. But you keep moving forward, and you keep finding reasons to move forward, and you keep appreciating that you found those reasons, and you can pretty much make it through almost anything.
But Rustie, after being homeless, fighting cancer, fighting celiac disease, being shot at, being raped, being a victim of domestic violence, where did you find that strength, that resilience, that inner fortitude to be so positive and grateful?
I think it's because the people that hurt me suffer more than I do. And I didn't want to be like them. And the key to being successful and healing and moving forward is to know what you want to be and what you don't want to be. And those lessons were very clear and stark lessons to teach me what I don't want to be and what I'm not capable of. I don't understand beating somebody. I don't understand wanting that much control. I don't understand hurting so badly that you need that to fill that hurt. I understand what it means to hurt, but I don't understand how to be that person. So I think I was born very compassionate, and to see people hurting other people, it just, some people like to smoke, some people like to watch sports. You have this thing that you like to do, and it feels good to you. That doesn't feel good to me. So I think you have two choices. You can let them win and become part of the battle, or you can surrender and fulfill yourself. And each storm is temporary. Sometimes it feels like it's forever. Sometimes it feels like God's not forgiving. Universe, whatever you believe. But at the end of the day, if you take one step forward, that's monumental in the end.
You said you were born compassionate.
Yeah.
But despite all the trauma, it did not change your outlook on life.
I think I had times in my childhood where I was really angry. It's very hard to be abandoned by your father, be abandoned by your mother, living on the streets as a child, and never feeling love. Like the two people that are supposed to love you unconditionally, they don't. So wrapping your head around this fantasy world that we're taught, your mom and your dad are supposed to love you unconditionally forever, blah, blah, blah. It was never an option for me. I was just brought here. And, 42 years later, you can kind of go, oh, I was brought here to write books. I was brought here to talk about my story. I was brought here to inspire people to move forward, no matter what the circumstance. But even as a small child, when we would stand in line at the food shelf, I remember standing in these long lines in the 80s as a little child to get government rations. And I would sneak food because I wanted the people around me to have more food than me. So thinking about that, I think it was always my destiny to be that person. Who better to go through these situations than somebody who can actually see compassion in the person that's hurting them. I don't feel sorry for them, but I don't hate them. It's just not in my being. I believe that these problems can be fixed, but it takes a whole bunch of people to fix those problems.
Whew.
Breathe. Namaste. We're good.
But you know that your reaction to your experiences are not normal.
I know that my reaction to my experiences are not normal because people like me don't stand up and say, hey, this is what normal really is.
Okay. Because I agree. I agree. And not many of us that are survivors of trauma have taken the outlook. You said you were naturally a compassionate person. Those of us that are survivors of trauma and are not naturally compassionate have to develop that as a skill. And I can say for me, it's very difficult.
I would say that when you're a baby, have you had children?
No.
No. Have you had nieces, nephews? Have you had babies in your arms?
Yes.
Okay. So when you look at that baby and that baby looks at you in awe and wonderment, and that baby reaches out for you and that baby giggles, that's compassion. We're all naturally born with compassion. You don't know what you don't know until you know. And when you realize and you accept that the reason why you went through that lesson is because you're a compassionate person, then you can see that lesson in a different set of glasses, in a different frame. So instead of seeing it as anger and hate and why did you do this to me and what's wrong with me, what's broken in me, you can say, all right, there was something that I needed to learn from this, and there was something that I needed to understand about you. Not you as a person, but you as an ideology. And my premise or my foundation is I want to be the person who allows other people like you to say and stand up and say, this is what happened to me and this is how I feel about it and this is what I'm going to do about it. The more of us that teach other people, the less trauma there would be, because then people would understand and then they could tap into that natural compassion that we all have. You only know what you know until you don't know.
Yes. But Rustie, you are now crusading.
Yes. Yes, very much.
You are a crusader that poverty is the lack of education and laws. You're crusading for that. Where was that birthed?
Poverty is a man-made device to enslave people. And
Preach.
it is. It's a man-made device to enslave people. The more people you have in a sense of utter despair and desperation, the more people you get to manipulate. And poverty has been a long, long historical use of manipulation for the people. People have choices, but we don't stand up and we don't preach and we don't gather and we don't rally and we don't say enough is enough. And that's why poverty still exists. Our lawmakers know what they're doing. They know that the average rental in the United States is $1,234. In order to make an income that is going to suffice, to be sufficient to your needs, your bills, your savings, if God forbid you have one, groceries, electricity, which is outrageous, you have to make about $30.77 an hour to meet those needs. The average minimum wage is $7.35. The math is not there, and they know it. The problem is we don't stand up and we don't speak. We just allow. And that's where poverty continues to thrive. Once we stop allowing and start demanding, then I very much see poverty ending.
How could we stand up? What can we do?
We're doing it right now. This is it. I mean, honestly, this is it. Go on every radio show that you can. Go on every talk show that you can. Write letters. Stand in the middle of the streets with a sign. But poverty can be fixed, and so can abuse. Abuse can change. Poverty can change. Can it be eradicated? No. You're always going to have pockets of individuals who still seek control. And both subjects, they seem like they don't correlate, but they do. Poverty and abuse are correlations of how to hurt people, how to control people, how to manipulate people. And we can solve, I would say, 90% of that problem. But we all have to do it together. It can't just be me crusading on my little chihuahua. It can't be me, masquerading around with my fairy dust that I put in everybody's life. I'm very big about sprinkling fairy dust on people. It's genuinely, all of us have to hold hands and gather and rally and share, because you don't know what you don't know until you know.
You don't know what you know until you know. Yeah. Wow. How did you overcome your traumatic experience?
I don't know if you actually ever overcome them. I sleep about 4 hours a night. I have frequent trauma, like nightmares. So I still have healing that I have to do. Mm-hmm. I love poetry. I love reading. I too dabble in art. I'm not quite as fantastic as my daughter, but I like to create things. I love cooking. If I'm having a bad day, I throw on Nina Simone, blare her to the top, and I cook an amazing meal. Something that I've never cooked before. Right. But that's just, it's like grounding. It's artwork. It's, witchcraft. Back in the old days, you would brew something, you would create from your soul. And that's how I recenter myself. And then I start writing. I was told never to write. I was told that I was a horrible writer. Maybe I am. I don't care. I'm 42 years old. You don't care anymore. So I still write. And now I have 9 books out. Oh, well, I should have written. You get as good with you as you can be. And you're always your worst critic. You're always the one individual who will feel the hardest about yourself. Mm-hmm. But you begin, when you start your healing work, you begin to look forward and you begin to get good with yourself, and you begin to get good with those scars. One of my books, I say, I'm standing in the middle of the streets of Manhattan, busy traffic if you've ever been there. And I take off every stitch of clothing on my body, and every scar and every bruise and every broken bone, everybody can see it. And in that, I'm a sprout coming out of the ground, and I'm rising again. Maya Angelou, go sister. So, you find creative ways to start loving yourself again. That's how you move forward.
What about the person that is listening to us that lacks the ability to find a creative way to start their healing, but they know that they need to be healed? What would you say to that person, Rustie?
There's so many things. I mean, you can listen to Hay House Radio. You can listen to your radio show. You can read books. You can finger paint. It doesn't have to be perfect. It's not the point. It's taking your mind and disengaging from the trauma and allowing emotion to flow. So swimming, running, going and batting a ball at the baseball field. These are all activities where you're disengaging the trauma and allowing emotion to flow. And that's what we need to do more of, is to release, to stop, release. You don't have to be into watercoloring or photography, but maybe you like music. I love music. And, maybe you like rain. So go to a place like, I love the aquariums down here because they'll have like waterfall. and you could sit in that area and just listen to the waterfall, and you're disengaging the trauma and you're allowing the emotion to flow. And then you're able to reconnect with reality, because what's happened. There's nothing you can do about that. You can't walk backwards successfully. You'll fall down, right? So why do it? You know, so you've got to walk forward. And if you can't walk, you've got to crawl forward, because if you try to crawl backwards, what is going to happen? You're going to fall down and hurt yourself. So there is no backwards anymore. That's why the rear view mirror is always smaller than the windshield. Right?
Beautiful, yes. Someone wants to know, what are your thoughts on socialism?
Socialism, well, in our time and climate, one has to define what they mean by socialism, because it's a very misconstrued term.
Okay. That was one of the questions by one of our viewers, and I'm sure that she will respond.
Thank you.
She'll actually provide us with a definition.
Sorry. Yeah, socialism is a misused term to try to associate communism with socialistic acts. And if you study history, they're two very different things. One's very controlling and one is very Christian, in the sense of being focused on healing thy neighbor, being a part of the community, healthcare being a universal force, and communism being something that's allows poverty to be impoverished and education to be limited and healthcare to be limited and that sort of thing. So socialism these days is used in a duality that doesn't actually technically exist.
She said, regarding poverty, abuse, and wealth.
I believe that it's more of a humanitarian versus a political endeavor. I believe it's our responsibility as humans on this planet to respect each other. I believe it's our responsibility as humans on this planet to take care of each other. I believe it's our responsibility as humans on this planet to raise our children with dignity and respect towards other people as well as themselves. I don't believe it's a political matter. I believe it's a human matter. And when you read all of the religions, and there's over 2,250 religions in the world, 2,000 of them also preface the value of respecting each other as a community and rising each other up instead of pushing each other down. When it comes to politics, I believe that we need to rapidly change our political construct, because it's become something that, as we all see, divisive. It's not effective anymore, but it takes all of us to come together to change that. And it's not going to change until we make it so, because we are more powerful than people think.
Rustie, you said poverty is slavery. Don't you think that's a very bold statement to make?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. When you set up your society or your community, okay, so let's look at it in a different way. I believe very strongly that I would rather see poor people in every neighborhood than a neighborhood of poor people.
Repeat that. That's profound.
I would rather see poor people in every neighborhood rather than a neighborhood of poor people.
Can someone put that up, please? Wow.
And here's why. So I grew up in the projects. I grew up in very impoverished neighborhoods and areas where every day I came home from school, there was people sitting out on their porch and they're drinking and they're smoking and they're drugging, and there's just sadness and desolation and there's no hope. And as a child, you're going through these neighborhoods and there's faces of no hope and distrust and hate and anger and greed and fighting and nastiness and rape and sub-societies that develop in those neighborhoods that continue to perpetuate abuse. You don't know what you don't know until you know. Now imagine doctors and lawyers and nurses and restaurant managers and stewardess all through the neighborhood, and you're walking down as a child who is poor, you're poor, but you have hope and opportunity and dreams and things to look forward to and things to think about and things to strive for. You have an influence. You have a seed that's being planted versus walking home to sadness, desperation, gunfights, shooting, derogatory music, that is impoverishing, continuing that impoverishment. That would make a tremendous difference in our society, don't you think?
Yes.
So, once again, I would rather see poor people in every neighborhood than a neighborhood of poor people.
You're dropping some pearls.
I'm going to be the first woman president, I think. No. But I truly magnify that. I every interview that I have across the world, I really emphasize the fact that you're not doing any justice by trying to hide the root of the problem or the symptom of the problem. Poor people are not the root of the problem. Poor people are not an issue. Poor people are individuals who don't know what they don't know until they know. And if you're going to push them out and try to hide them, they're never going to know, so they're never going to change. They're never going to have that inspiration. They're never going to have that hope. And when you have a little bit of hope, that pushes you further in life. That gives you hunger. It gives you something to strive for. And I genuinely believe we need more hope.
How can we join or start the hope campaign and give hope to the hopeless?
We're doing it right now.
And even as the individuals that are viewing us or may view this show after it's on YouTube, what can one individual do to give hope to maybe a hopeless child or another hopeless individual?
My absolute favorite thing to do, and it's not politically correct, it's giving hugs. I love giving hugs. I love stopping in the grocery store and saying, hey, how are you today? Those little tiny things make a world of difference to people. There have been so many people who I've run into who just need to feel because we've forgotten to teach each other how to love. We're so in our phones and in our TV programming and into gossiping about other people that we forgot to learn about other people. And the most spectacular thing you could ever do is to shut up. If you sit quietly and you listen, you learn far more about somebody else than if you speak. And it's phenomenal. I teach my students when I teach classes, I always say, just shut up, just for a few minutes. Just feel it, listen. In the morning when I wake up, I lie in bed and I intently listen to see who's awake. And we have a family of owls that live across the street, and you can hear them hooing, whoo, whoo, whoo. And we have these stupid little frogs. They're loud and obnoxious and fat as all. They're really big frogs, and they make really loud noises, and it's 4:00 in the morning. But there's so much busyness going on in the world. If you can quiet down, then you develop more compassion, because then you can appreciate why the frog's so loud, because during the day when the cars go by, he can't be heard. Right? So you have, here in Florida, we have a plethora of wildlife everywhere. Everywhere you go, there's some crazy animal making some noise. It's very loud. But you wouldn't notice that if you don't take the time to notice that. You don't know what you don't know until you know. And if you're courageous and strong enough and willing enough to find out, this world's amazing. It really is.
Where do we find that courage to find out? Because some of us may not have it. How do we find it?
It's a choice. You make a choice every single day as to how your day is going to be. And there are individuals who wake up and they groan and they roll out of bed and I don't want to go to work. And you're making a choice to set your day up to not know. But if you spend 5 minutes every morning just laying down and listening, you make a choice every single day as to how you're going to learn. And there's no magic to that. It's genuinely making your own decision as to how you want to live your life. You're in control of your life. Other people in the past have controlled and have hurt you and have made those choices for you. Today, I choose to make choices for myself. And if you develop that attitude, then you can start awareness and you can start being more compassionate, and you can take a little bit of time before work to go to the grocery store, go to the coffee shop, and just buy somebody's coffee. Don't even tell them who you are. You don't have to. That's a cognizant choice to be a better version of you today than you were yesterday.
So, please correct me if I'm wrong. When we get up in the morning, we design our day.
Amen.
And some of us, instead of taking the time to design our day and to be quiet and to enjoy the songs or the atmosphere that we're in, we grab for our phones.
That's
grab for our electronic devices, and we invite that to create our days.
Yeah.
So it's like giving control over to the electronic devices to create those days for us.
It's not being aware that you're not giving yourself the time of day and the respect to yourself to make those choices. I have an iPhone, and I set my iPhone to it's like a harp, so it just gently wakes me up, and then I lie there and I say, "Thank you, pillow. Thank you, blanket." And and it sounds strange to some people, but when you get into the groove of it, you start really appreciating how you're snuggled in tightly and you're comfort and you're warm and you're safe and you're blessed. And when you come from a traumatic experience, those are feelings that are very hard to connect to because you're not used to being comforted. You're not used to being warm. You're not used to being safe. You're not used to feeling loved. So when you start giving yourself that kind of love and their baby steps, your day is amazing. No matter how crappy your day is, you can get pulled over, you can get into a car accident, but the sun will always rise and it will always set. And you choose whether you acknowledge that the sun rises with beauty or you just ignore it. Does it make sense?
It makes a lot of sense, because now I have a difficult question.
Sure.
You may be someone that wakes up in the morning and you're grateful for everything and you have all the positive energy and you're ready to take on the world. But every other person you encounter during your morning has a different energy. How do you maintain your own?
That's a great question. I don't think it's a difficult question. It is a unique way to answer it. And the way I maintain my own is the same way that I handled being raped. It's none of my business. What you're doing to me is what you're doing to me for whatever reason it is, but it's none of my business. I need to be good with me, and I need to fix and heal what you've done, but your issue is your issue. So, and that's really a huge thought, isn't it? To look at somebody and say, I love you unconditionally. I'm willing to buy you a cup of coffee, but it's none of my business.
That's deep what you just said, Rustie. That you handle it the same way you handled when you got raped.
Yep.
You just think that person that raped you, that's none of my business. My healing or the process and how I handle it is my business. Correct. Where the heck did you learn to do that?
I don't know. I watched my mother when I was little. She was very young. She was a teenager when she had me. And in the South, when you have a child as a teenager, that was, ultimate sin because we're in the Bible Belt, and, she was Cherokee Indian, so she was already brown. And then to be 16 and pregnant in the 70s, I mean, she was cut off. And I watched her throughout my youth get into relationships that were extremely abusive. I watched one of her boyfriends, the one that raped me, put her head through the floor. Like, he smashed her whole face. And I watched a lot of pain. And she made it her business. And it ruined her life. Just that constant, why me? Why do I fail? I'm not good enough. That whole story that we tell ourselves, especially as women. Mm-hmm. And I think at a very early age, I didn't want to be that person. And it's all the seeds that are planted when you're a child that blossom later in life, when it's supposed to, I think. But I really think that that's where it came from. The none of your business part is because I saw her becoming a monster because she made it her business. Does it make sense?
It does, but it's kind of confusing because you watch that, you watch her made all that pain and her business, and it destroyed her as a person. And in your mind, you took that and you turned it around. It's not my business.
Because I so desperately didn't want to be that. That was, when you're watching gangs in the projects and you're watching people shoot up coke and beat each other up and lie and cheat and steal and shoot at each other, and you're watching hand over fist drama because people are poor and angry and hateful and they can't get out of their own. I fought like hell to not make it my business. I graduated high school. I graduated college. I now have 9 books out. I work my backside off to not make it my business because authentically me, all I want to do is hug people and tell really bad jokes and just laugh, because that's what life is. Life is a series of journeys. But if you're coming at me with something that is irrelevant, it's really not my business. That's your business. You've got to take care of you, right?
Wow.
That's how you heal. And it's not meant to be disengaging or disattached, not having attachments in the sense of not caring or not being compassionate. It's really owning what's appropriate and what's not appropriate. And I think we don't do that anymore. I think we feed off of each other's misery to the point where we have reality TV shows. I mean, you know what I mean? Why sit there for an hour or two watching reality TV shows or The Bachelor and all that drama? Why stick that in your head? Why not go out and do something positive for your community?
Wow.
Are you still confused?
because all these psychological theories and all of that is going through my brain, so I'll have to take some time to analyze that. But someone said maybe it's a form of detachment and isolation, possibly a defense mechanism. What do you think about that? Saying that it's none of your business.
It is and it's not. It's owning what you're supposed to own. So your boss is having a bad day. That's not your business. Your business is to have the best day that you can and perform the best way you can. It's not detachment in the sense that you're not connected. It's owning what you need to own for you and being responsible for your actions. You can't be responsible for other people's actions. And that's the distinguishing difference. You can still be compassionate towards other people, but not engross yourself in their drama.
I kind of like that because I believe in order to heal, we have to let go, and now I don't know. I think I'm on another journey in my life. I feel people's energy, and I don't want to be a part of some groups or in the presence of some people because of what I'm feeling.
Right.
And it's not positive. You feel when you walk away from them, you feel heavy. It's like you need to go grab some sage and just sage yourself.
Yes.
No,
David.
seriously.
No, I know. So when I say this, it's you have those individuals in your life that are very dramatic and very needy, and they're constantly needing something, right? That's not business. That's their business.
That's their business.
You give yourself the right to be a part of their life to an extent where you don't drag yourself into that space that consumes you and engulfs you and makes you part of that business. That's the distinguishing characteristic. So I was severely abused. I'm not an abuser. Why? Because that's not my business. That's not who I am authentically. I know who I am authentically. I'm a healer. I'm a lover. I'm compassionate. I'm a helper. So I choose not to have that as my business and not to have people in my life that are abusive. Does that make sense? Does that clarify it?
Yeah. So it's like, for me, I promote finding your authenticity by removing your mask.
Right.
But I have to find that authenticity first in order to embrace it.
I think the individuals that are able to find their own authenticity are the ones that are willing to stand in the middle of Manhattan and strip off all their clothes and be real. Because we all have scars, we're all lopsided, we all have stretch marks, we all have our story in our physical construct. And for whatever reason, for the last few hundred years, we've taken to condemning our physicality instead of rewarding the soldier. So our body is the soldier. We're the warrior goddesses and gods, so to speak. And the marks that we have externally reflect our journey. It doesn't mean that we're any less than anybody else. But unfortunately, our society has discerned that we are. And that's when you become authentically beautiful. When you can say, wow, all right, I'm a warrior goddess. I got this scar from the turkey that I made last year. And, and you embrace those pieces of you that are different, that have changed over the years. And when you become aware, you can embrace those pieces in other people, and you get to see other people in a light that you never saw them before. And that's where the compassion comes in, and that's where authenticity comes in, because you can now see with a new set of eyes of the beauty that we have around us instead of looking for the ugly.
I agree so much, because now I can take the negativity from people. There are some people that they will never say anything positive, even though whatever is presented is positive. And I had very low tolerance for those people.
Yeah.
And now in the midst of that, when they present it, I can find something to turn it around. And it's something new that I've never experienced, and I'm experiencing now, and I'm confused.
No, don't be confused. Just go with the flow. Be a leaf in a river. Don't try to be the canoe paddle. Just lay back and let it go. You don't want to surround yourself with negative people, but they do exist, and you learn something from that. When I run into negative people, I live in a very touristy area, and you have your grumpy travelers, and I just look at them and I remind myself, wow, I'm in the sunniest state in the country, and I see rainbows every single day. No way I want to be like that. Thank you for reminding me who I don't want to be. And I leave it at that. Okay. The universe gives you messages, and every now and then when you become complacent, There's a curveball thrown at you. Okay. Yeah. All right. I got it. There's my curveball. I got it. I don't want to be that person, or I don't want to drive like that, or, I want to be a better version of myself in my community. I want to reach out and do more. I want to be a better mom. I want to be a better friend. So you always have an opportunity every morning that you wake up to be a better version of you. And it just depends on your attitude about it, your willingness.
Wow. How can we be in contact with you?
Oh, you can go to my website. It's Rustie, Rustie, McDonald, McDonald.com. And if you go to contact, there's a little phone. Click on the phone and you can call me right away. I blog every 2 weeks, and I'm on radio shows all the time. So I'm very blessed that way.
And that is, could you repeat the website again?
Yes, thank you. It's Rustie, Rustie, McDonald, McDonald.com.
And that's RustieMcDonald.com.
Correct.
And we can go to your website and we can read your blog. We can see where you'll be, or how can we get your books? You're author of 9 books.
On Amazon. I actually just published another book out of Australia that's on Athena Publishing. It's called Healing Energies. That was a really fun book that came out in December. So you can see it on my website. You can go to Amazon, and the Athena Publishing website also has Healing Energies. So,
what has inspired you, before you go, what has inspired you to write, and to not just write, but to write 9 books?
Because I was told that I shouldn't. It's one of those quirky behavior things that I have. I was told that I am a bad writer and I should never write again. And I need to tell this story. I know that's my purpose. And writing's very healing for me, whether it's grammatically correct or not. That's what editors are for. And that was very hard. It was a very hard process for me because I was beaten down so much, inadequate, to make this happen. But each time it happens, I feel like a little kid going to Disney World. It's so funny. I'm like, me? Yes. Okay. I got this. But I just write. I write what's on my mind. I write how I feel. I share it with the world. I'm very transparent. And there's a lot of judgment that comes with that. People think that I should not be so open. But if I'm not so open, then I'm not walking the walk, am I?
Yeah.
So it's been very healing in a lot of ways as well. There's multiple purposes in writing. And I accept all the doors that are opening. It's pretty amazing.
Okay. Well, Rustie, you have left us. You're located in Florida.
Yes. Yep. I'll be speaking in Jacksonville this fall. I'll be speaking in New Hampshire this spring. I'll be speaking in April at a local battered women's shelter. Yeah, so it's coming. It's exciting. But on my website, if you go to the marketing place, you can follow and see all
itinerary. Yes. Okay. We'll be in contact. Can you tell us how to get in contact with you once again?
Thank you so much. Easiest is RustieMcDonald.com. That's RustieMcDonald.com. And I'm so grateful that you had me on your show tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I am so excited, and I like your energy, and I like your perspective, and
you have a question, I can feel it. You just I can feel it. Go ahead, bring it.
I know you said that it's innate.
Yes.
And it has to be innate for you to have all the experiences, all the trauma that you've experienced, and have this beautiful outlook on life.
My philosophy is, after everything that I've gone through, and after all the tears, and after all the bruises, and the broken bones, and the bloody noses, and I have a choice. I can live or die. Then it's really that black and white. You have a choice of either living or dying. And I like living. I like rainbows. I like dragonflies. I like listening to the frogs. I like knowing that the world is so big and I have so much to look forward to. I get into my car and we just drive. Just drive. Because I never know what's going to happen at the end. I never know what we're going to run into, whatever we're going to experience. And that's a gift. And you only get one shot at that. Right?
Yeah.
So for me, I made a choice to live. And in that choice, every day, I write my gratitude list and I appreciate everything that I see, hear, feel, and smell. When you're homeless and you don't have a blanket,
Mm-hmm.
when you're homeless and you don't have a hot shower, when you finally get that hot shower, it's the most amazing thing on the planet. You don't know what you don't know until you know. And it's always your choice to find out.
How long were you homeless for?
A year and a half.
And were you street homeless?
Street homeless. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow. Is any of your books on your homelessness or your
They're all, it's all about, yes, I share my story. I share about rape. I share about the abuse, what it's like to lie in a puddle of blood and want to die. You know, I share the grieving part, but then I share the joy of what that lesson taught me later.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's always a foundation to be a better version of yourself later.
Mm-hmm.
And I really focus on being lighthearted and trying to ease into the conversation without being overwhelming. I think it's very important to tell the story, but not be,
Not
so
yeah.
right. Because you want to hear it, you don't want to cry through it.
Yes.
Yes,
I
so
agree.
there's humor in there, and I think it's a good balance of reality and lighthearted perspective. Because again, I choose to live. So.
Okay. Well, Rustie, you have to come back and tell us about your latest book.
I would love that. Thank you.
Yeah, and let us know about your book and the inspiration behind that. Your ninth book.
Yeah, healing energy. It's actually about finding gratitude, and it's my speech this year is healing through a storm.
Healing
So
through a storm.
how do you find gratitude when you're at rock bottom? And that's very powerful to think about when you're going through everything that you can be going through, every single pain that you can think of. You lose your car, you lose your house, you lose your job, the whole rock bottom scenario. How do you find yourself and put yourself back together? And so that's what the book's about.
Well, I'd like you to come back to tell us to focus on that.
Sure.
How do you find yourself?
Sure.
Because it's something that I've been talking about. I'm actually on that journey, so we'd really like you to come back and share that with us.
Absolutely. Anytime. You let me know when.
Okay, no problem. Thank you so much, Rustie. Good night.
Thank you, everybody. Bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, guys, we've had a long show for you. We've had Rustie and we've had Carolin. I want to thank you. This has been Talk Time with Sharmin. And we're on every Sunday on Facebook Live, 6 to 7 p.m. If there are two guests, it would be 6 to 8. Um, I want to say thank you. Thank you, Judith and Rosalind and Tracy. Thank you for asking the questions. Thank you for um, the interaction. Please like and share. Please share the video. And I'll see you next week. If there is a topic that you want to hear us address, or there is someone that you want to see on the show that might be able to make a contribution, just let me know. Have a blessed week. Be grateful that you're alive. Remember to share something with someone. Don't keep it to yourself. And my favorite quote or theme right now is people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Begin to care about the people that are around you. Begin to pay attention to the things that are around you and be present. Be mindful of the gifts that you have been given, the gift of life, the gift of a job, the gift of getting out of your bed on your own accord every morning, the ability to put food on your table, the ability to jump into your vehicle and drive. Those are things that you should be grateful for. Find things to be grateful for. And I'll see you next week. God bless you. And thank you once again for joining. Remember to share the video.